Hey everyone, sorry it's been a couple weeks since I posted any video progress. I've been really busy with a few other projects that have been taking up both my time and my garage space. If you can kind of see what's going on here. Maybe I'll do a video of what some of that stuff was here in a little bit. But you can see my patch panel that's on my fender is actually welded on now. So that's what this video is about. If you want to follow along and see some of the mistakes I made, how I corrected them, maybe a few tips, at least that I learned, or I think I learned, and some ideas I had for how to do it better. I included those in the video. So if you like that stuff, follow along. Alright, so since the last time I did any welding, I've decided to upgrade a little bit. I have another video I posted of a review of the TIG welder I got. So quick preview. It's the Prime Weld. It's a 220, 120 welder. I think it's their only TIG welder that they make. I think I can just do a couple fusion tack welds. They may require a little bit of filling, or if they do, I'll have it ready to go just in case, because I don't want to burn through my brand new patch panel. So here we go. Okay. But you know, at the first try, stick to tungsten. Alright, let's get it sharpened up and read. Maybe we'll cut that part out. Attempt number 2, sharp tungsten. Nice good fusion tack weld there. I'm happy with that. I didn't need filler, so I'm going to try another one a few inches down. I really like this TIG setup. No filler wire. I mean, I can almost not even grind these. Like, I may not even have to grind them. I'll probably planish hammer them out. So it's really, really cool. So the MIG weld just throws sparks and stuff everywhere. So this is a way fun change of pace here. Let's see. Here, because the fan on that welder is really loud. That's the one downside, but that's a worth it trade-off for me, since it was much less expensive than the other options. Stuck with tungsten welder twice there. There is a tack weld with no filler rod. So that one came out pretty good. Those two came out pretty well. I mean, those are microscopic little weld beads. They're just the pool. And then there's one there, and there's where I blew through twice, and I've tacked it just to hold it up. I've tacked it there, and a couple times on the bottom there. So I'll have to figure out what to do there. I may need to do a hokey MIG thing like I used to do, where you build up material around the edge, and then you kind of try and bridge it over. A couple good tack welds there. There's kind of a blob weld. That's the other one that tried to blow through, and I was able to bridge it kind of with a blob and filler metal. There's a couple really nice tack welds. It's so tiny. It's so nice. If I could do that all the way around. That one started to blow through, so I gave up and put a good tack on it. And I even blew through a couple spots there. I think my fit up is just not, well, it's actually really good, except for where I tried to heat it up. So there's a couple, I think there's a couple welds that got some bond there way down at the bottom here. I think actually that might be my only one that has any joint strength. Harder than it looks. Alright, I'm gonna just keep continuing to tack this up. I think I've got some settings dialed in. One thing, I was able to get a couple much more solid tacks by getting the torch on hot till I see it's just starting to get hot, and then I put a little dab in there, and the dab hasn't quite melted yet. It cools the weld down really fast, and then I can use the heat to kind of get that dab chunk that's there to flatten out and smooth in. So I don't know if that's a good way to do it, but at this point I'm going to do what works. And so maybe we'll do a little bit of research and try and figure out if there's a more professional or a nicer way to do that. What I don't like about it is that it leaves a weld bead on top of the material instead of doing like these fusion welds where there's literally this just flush and there's no need to do anything there. So I may try and do that and see how far. I think I just need some practice. So what better way to get some practice on it? So I also turned the machine back up to 60 amps because that's what the material is, and it just didn't seem to heat up quite as fast as I wanted it to. So it's back up to where kind of the 1 amp per thousandth of an inch kind of rule of thumb. So I think I'm just gonna try and go get everything into a tack every half inch or so. Stuck the tungsten right there. Ah. We're just gonna let the camera run, and we'll fast forward through we'll see how many times I have to sharpen this thing. I should just bring the sharpener over here so I don't have to walk so far. If you've never TIG welded before, I guess I've watched a bunch of videos, so now I'm picking up some of the lingo. Sticking the tungsten, that's the tungsten and that's the electrode. Sticking with tungsten is dipping, and the electrode's made out of tungsten, that's why they call it tungsten. It's dipping it into the weld pool or hitting it with the filler rod, and it contaminates. It's glowing red hot, and so it contaminates the electrode, and then you get all kinds of weird goofiness burning off and doing stuff. So every time you stick it, you've got to sharpen it back, and it also, yeah, when you stick it in there, it dulls it's got a point on there. It's supposed to be really sharp, and that's not very good. I don't know if you can see that. It's too close to focus, but it needs to be really sharp. And I suppose there's some different grind angles and things. I don't know what any of those are. I just have a tool that sharpens it, and I pick the most basic normal angle. And so you got to keep it sharp. Otherwise the arc kind of dances around and does all kinds of weird stuff. So every time I do that, you got gotta stop and start over. So I'm gonna have to learn how not to do that. All right, let's go back here. Let's see if I can get, where was I? I think I was right there. There you go, nice fusion welding. If we can get one there. Is this metal flat? Yeah, I think it is. Yeah. I definitely think it's the fitment gap that makes that fusion weld much easier. I also think maybe starting over off if you've got a gap, starting it over onto the one side where you've got some, you know, solid base material, and then move over into the gap to try and prevent it from just blowing straight through. The other thing is being able to see is another really challenging thing here. Good solid welds on the bottom here so I can take this clamp off, so I may do that, but let me get a few more up here. This light is causing my helmet to go dark. Technique better. Start it on one side where there's no gap, and then move it over into the gap. Take off the throttle. That seems to work pretty good. I like that much better. Right after I say that, I screw it up. Woo. There you go. This light messes with my helmet. Stuck it again. should just get 2 or 3 tungstens and have them pre-sharpened so I don't have to do this. I got these glass gas cups from Edge Welding Supply. They're pretty cool. They allow you to the standard welding cups are solid color, and so you can't see through them. And so these allow you to get a little bit better visibility. Not a paid endorsement. I had to pay for them myself. So, but they're pretty cool. And they work really neat. You get a whole set of larger sizes and short and stubby. I don't know the reason for using the long versus the stubby and all that stuff. So I just got kind of some standard ones. Well, you probably can't see. Let's zoom in just for fun and see what happens. Hey, I got one filled. Got a little extra material on it, but I'll take that. That was the one. All I did was gotta get heat kind of on and off. I guess that's what I could use the pulsing feature for, but get the heat in there, so it gets hot enough, and then just dab some filler wire in there where it's not totally wetted in, but it stays there as a little blob and cools the weld down a little bit, so I can get some heat into that filler wire blob that's there, and then that wets in. So that seemed to work pretty good. I'll wait for that to cool before I do anything else. Maybe we'll go back up here. Just dip the tungsten in there again. There we go. I don't know if you can see that, but I got that filled in pretty good. I don't know if it's the right way to do it, but that one, I put the filler rod in the, something just dripped from up here. I put the filler rod into the hole and then struck the arc on the filler wire and the metal, and so that helped it not burn through quite so easy. So these other ones, I'm starting off on one side of the gap, turning on the torch and just going right across, and the puddle just goes, it's just beautiful right across there. So that's, if I was doing that again, that's what I would do in every single spot. So I've got 1, 2, 3, probably 5 errors or something that I would call an error of material blew through. So not terrible for my first real TIG welding experience. I don't know if I should dress this down a little bit before I get I think I'd like to, just because I don't want to grind too much material off later. Stick the tungsten, but I've got a blob on the end now. This is getting a little old. I'd say if you do get into TIG welding, invest, you know, the 30 or 40 bucks it costs to get a tungsten grinder, because man, I think I've done more grinding than I've done welding. So, just my bit of free advice. Well, I got a blob of material over it, so I don't know that I need any more filler wire, but I'd like to get it to sit down a little better. That's better. Not beautiful, but that film. Okay, I don't know if you can kind of see it there. You can't see. I'll get the camera and kind of go through it once I get it. Alright, I think I got one more decent size thing to fix on the very bottom. Okay, that worked out pretty good. This welder is this head comes with it, a flexible head, so I can kind of adjust it for these weird positions. Blob of weld. I wonder if I can get it to sit down with that. That's my problem. I can't get the foot pedal down all the way down here. There we go. Not leaking. Alright, I think those are welded together, so I'm going to take the clamp off. Alright, remember, this is Brian's a beginner. So I was able to fill in that that burn through. That's an ugly blob of material, but and I've got mostly fusion tacks every ½ inch or so all the way down until I got my other blow through there, which is filled. This one was a little bit of smaller blow through, but it's filled. That one you can kind of start to see it started to blow through. And then there's a couple blow through. It's really hard welding upside down, so can I blame that? Can I blame those on welding upside down? I'm going to right now. So that's where we're at. And so I suppose the next step is to maybe hammer and planish this and check it for straightness, figure, and you know, tweak anything that needs to be tweaked, and then I guess just weld up the rest. I'm a little nervous about doing that, but I suppose now that it's got a bunch of tacks in it, it should, I guess if I'm wondering if I start here and jump over, kind of zigzag across that joint and get a dab of filler material in there. That may be a good plan. If I was MIG welding this, I would just continue tacking in between where there was a gap until there was no more gap left, and then I'd grind it down. But this doesn't seem to be, that doesn't seem to be a great plan, because if I don't want to have to grind all this down. So, I mean, these welds here, I mean, this is flush and there's no extra material over the top. That's beautiful. At least from a bodywork standpoint, you know, not having to grind and do a bunch of stuff to mess it up. That's awesome. So that's where we're gonna, let me see if I can get reset up. The other thing is I'm gonna try kind of pulsing the pedal a little bit, just so I can control the heat a little bit better. I suppose I could use the pulsing feature on the machine, but I've never done that, so I don't know. I think I'll maybe try to save that for later. That's a whole other thing. Alright. Actually, the foot pulsing helps a lot. It gets heat in there, and it backs it off, and I can down and with pulsing the pedal, I'm able to get a pretty decent weld without any filler, at least in a couple of spots. So I may try that and just kind of watch the puddle, and if it looks like it's going to burn through, I'm going to dip one in there a little bit to cool it down. Where am I starting here? Alright. Alright, that was stupid. Don't lift your helmet while the arc is still going, because now I just see a bright sunspot. I thought I was done, and I lifted it up because I can't see the joint. So we'll wait a few minutes and see if that clears itself. Whew. That is bright. Alright, eyesight has returned. We're gonna get going. I really need a light behind me, that's my problem. Maybe I need a, do they make helmet lights for welding? I'd be willing to bet they do. That's probably what I need. Yeah, that'd be perfect. Let me see if I can set something up. Getting a little low on batteries, and it doesn't have a way to plug in, so that's probably on one of my next investments here, is to get a camera that I can use for more than 15 minutes. I will continue going down here. It seems to be kind of the same old. Most of the time I won't need any filler wire, but there's a couple spots where I may have to add a dab just because it's low. Afterwards I can see, and then I will I'll kind of show, I'll grab the camera when it's recharged, show the the whole thing unadulterated, you know, no grinding, no polishing, no sanding. We'll see how I did, and kind of go from there. I'm sure there's a little bit of shrinking going on here as it's getting hot and cooling, and so we'll probably have to hammer and dolly a little bit on the joint, but hopefully not too much. It seems to be going pretty good just with cycling the pedal, so the heat doesn't keep building. It heats up and kind of it's much easier to control that way. So happy that I've learned that early. Hopefully I'll get a little bit better at it, so my heat affected zone on here is a little less. All right, as promised, I got this this whole patch panel welded in, and we'll kind of go. We'll go from the best to the worst, or the worst to the best. I don't know. So this interior flange, oop, that's probably still a little hot. I burned through when I got to the edge, and so that's, I suppose, kind of normal. It just got hot and then it wore away. So I had to kind of build up some material there with some filler wire. Got around there. Started out kind of not so great here. I think I was just putting too much filler wire in. And then I started figuring out if I pulse the pedal, I can get it to lay down much nicer. And so that's there. I think that might have been one of my burn through spots. And here I'm just pulsing the pedal without any filler rod for the most part until I got to, I think that was another, either that was a big tack weld or a burn through, or maybe that was my burn through. So just pulsing the pedal, no filler wire. Looks like there's might be a couple spots where there's a little void, or I guess porosity they'd call that. So I might need to take the torch and go and kind of remelt that. Going down. There was a burn through. It looks like there's a hole in there now, but it's actually just got some, I think it's got some discolored material in there. So I put a dab of filler wire there. Got down, and then we got down under here. That's where I had a really hard time welding upside down. So I struggled with that for a little bit. Then I remembered I got access to the backside, so I don't know if the light comes on in there. It was tough to get the torch in there and the filler wire, but I think I was able to do it, and so pretty good for me. So I'll grind. There's a little bit of a weld slag hanging down here, so we'll grind that flush, and then we'll see what happens. Overall, much happier than I would have been with the MIG, so I'm pretty happy there. So and what I'm gonna have to be really careful is grinding out around this seam, because I don't want to mess up any of that detail there, and so that's probably going to take a bit of time just to really finesse it and get really careful with the grinder, or maybe even I suppose a file or a sanding block or something might be appropriate there. I guess I can get what if they make maybe a roll-lock grinding disc? That might be better too. So there it is, kind of back view shot. That's what the fender arch looks like. Looks really good. I don't see any distortion like I did with the original one, and so I'm pretty happy. From different angles. Once we get it cleaned up, you know, that darker area, or the overheated area, will kind of blend in, and I'm thinking this is going to be pretty cool. I'm excited. So all right, that's it for this video. We'll get I don't know where we'll start next, but we'll probably be cleaning that up and hammering it and going back to, actually I know exactly what we'll be doing. We'll be hammer and dollying this flat again, because I can see the heat from this weld is kind of poofed out this area a little bit, or shrunk this area, which caused this area to poof out. I'm not sure what's going on, but that's probably our next, I'm sure is our next plan of attack. So stay tuned for the next video. Bye.